this is going to sound weird to say, but I feel like there's a lot of parallels with that 2002 team and this Notre Dame team Ohio State's about to play. And I kind of want to shift gears a little bit and just kind of get your thoughts on this game that's coming up. And, you know, we can dive into more of the minutia and stuff in a little bit, but like just your overall thoughts of, obviously you said it, like back then, you know, this team, this Ohio State team, this Notre Dame team wouldn't be playing for the national title. So, you know, the shifting landscape has given these two teams an opportunity to get here. But like just your overall, you know, basic thoughts on this game, and then maybe we'll hit you with a few more in like detailed questions here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you bring that up, because I've been telling people all week I'm a little uncomfortable about this game. And the reason why is on paper, there's no question. On paper, we should win by 3 scores. You know, Notre Dame is I mean, to my knowledge, almost, if not exclusively, man on defense. How are you going to pull that off? How are you going to try to cover our 3 receivers and our backs out of the backfield and, you know, tight end? Like, we have weapons everywhere, you know, much like Miami did back in 2002. Defensively, you know, our guys up front do a tremendous job of getting pressure. And when you look at Notre Dame, they're I mean, their offense doesn't scare you. They don't necessarily come at you with weapons that scare you, scheme that scares you. But at the same time, it's interesting, Justin, that you brought it up, but I look at this Notre Dame Freeman and I look at the culture that Marcus Freeman is building. And I look at this Notre Dame team and I get a little uncomfortable because, like, you watch those guys play, they love playing for each other. They love competing. You can tell they take pride in winning the sudden change. If the offense turns over the ball, the defense getting a stop or vice versa. You can tell they take a lot of pride in supporting each other. And that's Marcus Freeman, right? That's him in a nutshell. That's the person he is, the coach that he played for. You know, great dude, and he values and cherishes those attributes. And there's something about a team that is selfless and truly loves playing for each other and loves each other. That's tough to beat. There's an intrinsic value that goes beyond X's and O's, that goes beyond matchups. Because let's face it, like I just said, if you're looking at matchups, if you're looking at on paper, it shouldn't be a game. I know what it's like to be in the locker room, to be the team that everybody thinks that about. And I can promise you this, there's nobody in that Notre Dame locker room thinking that. There's nobody in that Notre Dame locker room thinking that Ohio State is unbeatable. You know, I think everybody that knows college football this year would look and say, yeah, Ohio State, especially the way they've played in this playoff once they open things up and early down, spreading the ball around and getting it downfield to the receivers, getting it to the backs out of the backfield, getting in a lot of, you know, second and short, favorable playmaking downs and distances, coupled with what our defense does. There's no question we are and have been the scariest team in this playoff. But I guarantee you Notre Dame's not scared. Those guys are every day bringing their lunch pail, prepping, watching tape, practicing, putting a game plan together to figure out how they're going to slow that Buckeye offense down and our trio of receivers and what that's going to look like. So, you know, I expect some wrinkles. And at the end of the day, there's no doubt in my mind, I expect a 4-quarter battle from a Notre Dame team that's you know, maybe going to be undermanned a little bit, but not going to quit.
Yeah. And I'd imagine, Craig, that's probably a pretty big focus on the Ohio State side right now, is knowing you know, obviously there's nobody's underestimating anybody or anything like that, but understanding that you are going to be facing an incredibly hungry, aggressive team that is coming out with a pretty giant chip on their shoulder, and just to be the challenge of being able to match that. of match that hunger. And that hunger is almost like hunger that can only really come from an underdog, right? So being like the favorite, how do you match that the intensity and the ferociousness of an 8-point underdog that is coming out to shock the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that falls on coaches, right? It falls on the coaches and it falls on your upperclassmen leadership. I think a lot of it just depends on the maturity of the team. Personally, I never prepared any harder or any less, no matter who we were playing. If we were playing an Indiana or Northwestern or even a non-conference, MAC team early in the season, I always prepared the same way. I just measured success differently, right? When we would play one of those teams, if the starters weren't out of the game in the second quarter, with some of the second team guys getting reps before the half, then we didn't execute. We failed. Sure. If we weren't done for the game by the middle end of the third quarter, then we hadn't done our job. Or if it's going to be an overtime, battle or a fourth quarter, win at Camp Randall or, at home against Michigan. I personally always prepared the same way, approached every game the same way, underdog, favored, none of that ever mattered to me. So, I think a lot of that comes down to the maturity of the upperclassmen leadership. And then, Coach Day and this staff, there's still a lot of questions to answer after that Michigan loss and the inability to beat the team up north for 4 straight years. And, the only thing in my mind that salvages that, or at least kind of gets that taste out of your mouth, is bringing home the national championship trophy. And anything short of the Natty is going to, this season will be a disappointment, right? So didn't beat Michigan, didn't win the conference, didn't win a national title. 3 goals of Ohio State football, and they will have accomplished 0 of them. So, there's a lot of hunger that can come from that. And at least that's what I hope they're talking about and feeling, because as funny as it sounds, you're playing in a national championship game, but in today's era with the playoff, that's not as big of a deal. I don't want to say they haven't earned it, but they definitely didn't earn it in the regular season. And I hope they feel like they have a lot to prove in this game, and that'll help them match that hunger.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, real quick, because you had mentioned Coach Freeman. I don't believe you guys were there on campus at the same time. I know he played under Coach Tressel, but have you guys crossed paths? Have you guys ever spoken or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, a handful of times.
Okay.
I've gotten to talk to Marcus and share some conversations, but nothing, kind of more in passing at a Buckeye event. But obviously I know a lot of guys that know him well. And, everything that you see about him, everything that you think about him, from what limited interactions I've had with him, but conversations I've had with guys that do know him well, he's exactly what you think. I mean, great guy, family man, all about doing it the right way and trying to first and foremost, develop, late stage teenagers and young men, teaching them what it really means to be successful in life and what it really means to be a successful man as you grow up. Those are the types of lessons that he's going to cherish the most. And that's when you can instill that culture in a football program, it can be dangerous.